Hello everyone. Today we are here with two businessmen who have created their own business called URfeed. So, would you guys like to start off by telling us what your business is about?
Yes, so UrFeed's an online communication platform that allows people to talk via video with other people asynchronously, which means you can talk to people in different time zones where you can talk when it's convenient for you. So it allows groups of people to connect face to face, but without the need for everyone to be online at the same time. So we believe talking face to face is a really great way to kind of bring people together and to communicate. And it's been great for businesses to use to kind of bring people together that already know each other, but it's not being used very well to kind of bring strangers together. So we've created a platform that enables you to talk face to face with strangers, but you don't all have to be online at the same time.
Thank
Or
you.
new friends rather than strangers.
Yeah, yeah, new friends. Yeah.
Arif? Okay, so when did your company start?
So we had the idea for the business. I suppose there's different bits to when is the company kind of formally put together, and when does it actually physically become a legal business, or when does it start? So it probably started a couple of years ago when we started to have the idea and started to develop the idea, but we actually kind of formally kind of created it as a business probably about 18 months ago. And then we started working full time just over a year ago on the business. So there's different kind of stages to the business. And we only kind of took on our first employee probably about a month and a half ago. So there's different stages to it. But yeah, we started having it as an idea probably about 2 years ago. Then it became a business around about 14 months ago.
What are your company's goals?
Well, our goal really is to bring people together to communicate and to talk and to bring people together around their interests and to share knowledge. And I think one of the reasons that we've chosen video and asynchronous, which means that people can leave messages rather than it being live, is to enable more people to kind of join the conversation. So yeah, our goal is to bring people together and to kind of share knowledge, but we want to grow a platform that enables people to connect with other like-minded people.
What would you say the pros and cons about having your own company are?
I think the pros would probably be that you're your own boss. I think one of the things that I love about running my own business is vocational. So I think when you go and work for somebody else, you're working to help them with their goals. And I think if you find a great company, you buy into those goals as well. But for me, I really like having a group of people kind of solving the problem together. And I think when it's a small company, it's your own, you really feel part of that decision-making process. So that's really exciting. But then on the flip side, the kind of some of the cons can be that if it's not going well, you don't get paid. If it's you kind of have to create that element yourself. So there are more risks and stresses within that. But if you like those risks and stresses, then you can actually learn to enjoy some of the bad bits as well. But yeah, those would probably be the security aspect of running your own business. It's there isn't the same security. Even like now, obviously with kind of the lockdown and COVID, I think people that are running their own businesses are probably a lot more affected than people that are working for big companies.
You end up doing a lot more with your own business as well. When you get a job at a company, you get given a role, and that's kind of your job, and then someone else has got a job doing another role, and then obviously as the company grows, those roles get more defined, as in kind of like your area gets smaller because your responsibility to keep that area working grows. But with a startup, you end up doing lots of different roles, so you have different hats on. One minute I'm testing, next minute I'm building, next minute I'm designing, next minute I'm kind of managing, next minute I'm looking at finances. So when you're at your own business, you have to be multi-skilled, whereas if you're doing an employee, you can have a CV that says, I'm really good at this one job, give me this one job and I'll make it work. So yeah, it's just you have to be a little bit more of a jack of all trades as you start up your own business. And hopefully then as you grow, you will then hire specialists to take over certain responsibilities. So then you can then focus more on probably managing rather than the doing part.
The next question is, what are some challenges you have faced?
So probably the biggest challenge for us as a startup always is raising money. Raising money is a very hard thing to do at the beginning, because you have an idea and you have to then go pitch that idea. If you haven't, we are not very, like, we don't come from lots of money. We have to have a situation where we can go and investors to help us get an idea off the ground. So pitching an idea to someone when it's just on a piece of paper and getting them to give you some money to start building it is a difficult process. But so I think, and then it's a challenge always until you start making money within the business. Our business at the moment is completely funded via investors' money. So our business doesn't make any money at the moment. We're growing it to get to that point. So we're constantly having to prove to investors that we are achieving milestones and achieving goals to then get more investment. So that's definitely a challenge. And as Hal said, I think managing people is a challenge. I've always found the company, when it's a small group of people, it's really fun and exciting. But as the company starts to grow, it creates a lot of challenges in terms of people and kind of keeping a culture within a business. So those are definitely challenges. Hal probably has a lot of different challenges to me.
Yeah, so I focus probably more on the building side of it. Gareth's more on the kind of the business side. So on my side, it's probably more to do with keeping the app working, finding out what technologies to use, testing stuff. You know, lots of stuff can break, especially as we're doing with video. TikTok has changed the game of how people expect videos to play. You know, even if you compare TikTok to something like YouTube, it's a very different experience. So trying to get the app to work like that has caused lots of challenges. So then, yeah, overcoming those challenges, testing them, then finding out why it's not gone wrong. Yeah, that's kind of my biggest problems at the moment, to get the app working smoothly, not crashing. So yeah, constant battle when you're building an app.
What made you want to start this company, and who are your inspirations?
I suppose I just kind of fell into I suppose running my own business. I kind of used to run club nights and promote events when I was younger, and then I started using social media to promote those events. So using Facebook when it was platform, and other social platforms, and then kind of fell into it. So this particular platform, we created a platform before, kind of an app called CrowdMix, which was a music social platform, and that gave us the seeds of this idea in terms of looking at online communities. So I think we're heavy users of online communities ourselves, and we think they can be done better. So I think that's the majority of kind of people who set up a business. You identify a problem, and then you come up with a solution that you think is better than any other solution out there, and then you test that solution to see whether you're right. And a lot of people sometimes would come up with something, they test it, and then it's not right. And I think yeah, that's really, we kind of saw that there was a problem that we think online communities could be done differently, and we could create a better solution, and that's really given us the impetus. So having that idea and then starting to get a little bit more, I think each stage when we've kind of started to get little bits of proof points, we've been encouraged by the response that we've had. So that's made us kind of want to go on to the next stage. So I think that's probably given us the biggest impetus to kind of keep going and get it started in the first place.
Probably I've always wanted just to create something as well. So that's probably, I wasn't very good at art, you know, never going to build my own house probably. So kind of having something out there that I've created and that has succeeded. That's probably a big driver for me. You know, we identified the problem of online communities, but me and Gareth, like being brothers, we've been talking about ideas of different apps for years since the smartphone came out. We could do this app, we could do that app. So coming up with the ideas was kind of partly because we wanted to build something and something that's successful. So I think that kind of comes from that wanting to build, and then okay, what could we build that we think would be of value? And then that goes to Gareth's point about the online community.
Did anyone inspire you to start this company?
I suppose you look at different people, but I think it's probably whether it be I don't so much probably someone directly, but I think you look at different people in other walks of life, and I think it is tough at times. My last business, it didn't work. It went into administration, and it was quite it was a hard thing to go through. So I think to kind of get up and go again. So I think anyone that you kind of see, whether that be in kind of sporting, business life, or just life in general, that you see kind of stories of people overcoming stuff and pushing through. I think all of those things are inspirational. But yeah, you definitely look at other people within the business world in terms of good examples of things that you like. I think a great example for something that I've seen, when I was setting up my last business, there was a guy called Stephen Bartlett who was setting up a small influencer agency, and in the time that I've known him, has grown that influencer agency to be one of the biggest marketing agencies in the world. Floated it on the stock market for £200 million. He's wrote a best-selling book, and he's only 29 years old. So so I think there's people that I look at, and it gives you inspiration and kind of gives you and then yeah, obviously you look at people from the past. But yeah, I think more so it's kind of looking at people to kind of give you I think setting up a business is about mentality. I think there's a lot of people that couldn't do it. I remember someone saying to me, like, a salesperson needs to be a really, really good talker. But from my experience, the best quality you need from a salesperson is being able to take rejection. And somebody else could be a great talker, but if you can knock on 100 doors and get no 100 times, and then the 101 you get a yes, you're going to sell more than a guy that's a good talker. And I think setting a business up is very much like that. So seeing other people that have a mentality who to persevere, I think, yeah, I definitely look at different people like that for inspiration.
What is the best thing about your jobs?
I think probably for me, the best thing about my job is it doesn't feel like a job. It's my own business.
Say working with your brother.
Yeah, a little bit of that. Yeah, but that'd be, for me, the best thing for me is that it doesn't feel like a job. I feel like I've got a problem that we're trying to solve with a group of clever people. So I'm coming in every day to solve it, and that for me is amazing. That is kind of so that's probably the best thing about my job is that it doesn't feel like a job. And I think when you find something, when you're coming in every day to solve a problem, to kind of achieve a goal, you have real drive and determination. It doesn't feel like a job. I think when you're doing a job or you're doing something and it doesn't feel and you don't feel satisfied, it doesn't have purpose, I think then it starts to feel like a job. So I feel I have real purpose with my job every day and a real goal. And so I think that's probably the best thing about it for me.
Yeah, same. Like, I came from a job working at a bank to come back working in a startup, and it's just a lot more emotional involvement. I think that when you have another job, you're kind of doing that job, but the emotional connection probably isn't there as much as when you're trying to make something from nothing. So I think, yeah, that's a lot more intrinsic motivation to get it done. And yeah, but then that work-life balance also is a bit harder to maintain because it is a bit all-consuming.
But what's interesting is this experience is very much a lot of the premise for our platform, URfeed. Like, what we see URfeed as is a shared knowledge place. So you come together and you can talk to people that are like, it's all very well and good kind of talking to Kevin Hart or Will Smith, but really what a young person who wants to get into acting wants to know someone from around their area who's been in one movie. And can you just talk to me and can I get some advice on how you got there? So a lot of the premise of URfeed is to connect people with experts and people that you can talk to and ask questions.
It was obviously, as Gareth said, we had this idea 2 years ago when we started building it. Didn't like focus on it, just kind of tried to build it on the side, got a bit of money, started it, but then obviously it was probably taking a bit too much of our time and we were both working on other things, so we kind of left it. And then when the COVID lockdown happened and Zoom kicked off, House Party kicked off, what we realized is actually the idea that we had was exactly the same as this, but rather than, Zaz had to organize today that we all had to be online at 1:15. you know, and then Gareth all of a sudden has an important meeting that he has to go out for, so he's got to drop off. And then, you know, either you get online at this time and we all talk now, or the conversation doesn't happen. So our idea was about how could you remove that time pressure? So actually you could start a conversation whenever and people can join that conversation, just like a WhatsApp conversation, but taking it out of your friendship social group and then add in video, which means you can build rapport with me when I don't really use Facebook now, but you know, you go on Reddit quite a bit and you get some good comments, but you don't ever feel you know the person. You're like, oh, that was quite insightful. But I don't ever feel like I've built an online connection. When you look at stuff like Twitch and online gaming, people do build real friendships there because, you know, there's a common goal and you're talking to them and there's a kind of bit of unity that you do around kind of that back and forth engagement. So that was kind of what we're thinking, you know, videos kicked off, being online at the same time is hard. So how could you have this kind of idea of, as Gareth said, like conversations on demand or like experts on demand? Could I put out a question out there and people give responses back? Or could an expert say, I'm online for the next couple of days, ask me any questions and I can give you some responses to your questions. So that's kind of what our premise was. And yes, that's kind of what we're trying to make happen. So yeah, it was very much, the inspiration came back again when Zoom and House Party kicked off.
What strengths do you have that make you good at your job, and what weaknesses do you have that make it harder?
I think probably strengths. I'm a bit of a risk taker, so I think that helps in terms of having the kind of wanting to jump into things like this. I think that kind of my wife is not so much, and I think she'd be quite happy for me to go and get a nice normal 9-to-5 job. So I think so that's that mentality that I kind of have. I think quite a good communicator. I think I'm constantly having to sell the business into people, sell the idea into people, whether that's selling it into staff that are already in the business, into investors, into partners, into staff I want to get to help me, constantly having to kind of sell the business into people. So having to be quite a good communicator. But then I think probably weaknesses, I think in terms of yeah, that kind of risk-taking element can be a plus and a kind of a minus as well, because I think yeah, you obviously got to have a little bit of a balance within that. So kind of one of our co-founders kind of gives us a little bit, he's got a bit more of a corporate background. And then I think kind of what some of the other bits, I think, yeah, that's probably, I think those two. I think probably as well, being an entrepreneur, focus is tough. I'm very much want to get something and then move on to the next bit. I think I'm very much, and I think Hal's very good at trying to bring in, we have quite a good kind of combination with us in a team. I think it's quite good to identify your own kind of weaknesses and then get other people. And I think collectively as a team, I think I'm always thinking about the next thing and trying to push things on. And I think, yeah, that can be a plus and a minus as well.
Yeah, mine, well, I think communication, I think in any job, I think doing stuff like what you guys are doing now, being able to kind of ask questions and get your point across. I think whether you're an entrepreneur, starting up, or any other business, I think that's a skill that, you know, I think everyone needs in the workplace. But particular skills for our business, I think I've got quite a broad range. I can use a lot of online programs, which kind of helps kind of doing the role of like the CTO, our business. So I have a wide knowledge of, you know, from setting up emails to setting up websites, managing domains, to then building apps, I understand code to a level that I can have a good conversation about it. Not that I can start replacing our developers, but I can get into the detail with them and challenge them and ask them if there's better ways of doing stuff. And then my main job is to prioritize things that we're building and kind of make sure that the developers know what they're building. So being able to understand technology so I can explain it in a way that developers can pick it up quite quickly. That's something that probably having a background in coding helped. Bad things is weakness, probably managing. You know, I think that's, for me, that's not a skill that I've overly had in my career. So right now I'm managing a team of 6 developers, and I think that I'm kind of a team member at one moment, but then the next moment I'm also then kind of managing them. So I find that is kind of a hard thing to do. And then obviously I'm trying to do my stuff while then trying to organize stuff for them to do. So yeah, managing that workload between making sure that they've always got stuff to do and they know what's asked of them and they're always motivated to do it. You know, I think that probably takes more time than what I give it because I'm always trying to do other stuff on the side. So yeah, I think managing people is a hard skill because you know, you don't get much experience at it until later on in life. Other stuff you can do by yourself in a room. You can learn how to code, you can learn how to design, you can learn how to sell stuff by yourself. You know, you've got an idea. Learning to manage people, you need to have a team under you, and you know, I don't really get that until later on.